Welcome back to UBG Bytes.
Good to be back.
Today we're taking a look at a really neat tool for macOS security folks, TaskExplorer. It's from Objective-see.
Ah, yes, TaskExplorer. If you're doing pen testing, red teaming, any kind of vulnerability analysis on Macs, you really need visibility into running processes.
Right, and TaskExplorer gives you that visibility in a very visual way, much more than the standard activity monitor.
Absolutely. It helps you figure out what's actually happening under the hood with a process.
So one of the first things you notice is the signing status feature.
Straight away you can see, is this process signed by Apple? Is it a legit third-party developer?
Or is it unsigned?
Exactly.
Right.
And that unsigned status, that can be a pretty big flag.
Yeah, think about malware trying to blend in, like naming itself .md worker, or something that looks like an Adobe process, but it lacks that signature.
TaskExplorer makes those kinds of things just pop right out. It's like a quick ID check for your running tasks.
Very handy. Then there's the VirusTotal integration.
Oh yeah, that's super useful. Saves you the hassle of grabbing a hash, going to the website.
Right. You can check the detection ratio right there in the tool, see if it's known bad.
Or if it's unknown, you can submit it directly for analysis. It just streamlines that whole threat intel lookup process.
Definitely speeds things up. Okay, what about digging deeper? It lets you see loaded dynamic libraries, right? The dylibs a process is using.
It does. You can get this info from command line tools like vmap, which maps out the process memory.
But TaskExplorer makes it visual, easier to parse quickly.
Precisely. And looking at those loaded dylibs, that's where you might spot something fishy, like code injection or some kind of implant.
Like that Zuru malware you mentioned before, the one that messed with iTerm2?
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. If a process is loading a library that makes absolutely no sense for its function, well, you need to investigate.
Makes sense. And similarly, you can view open files for a task.
This is like running Soloff in the background, but again, presented clearly.
So you can see what config files it's reading, maybe network connections or files it might be trying to access or exfiltrate.
Right. Unexpected file handles or another one of those, what's going on here moments. Like seeing malware open a specific odd-looking config file.
So TaskExplorer is essentially doing the heavy lifting, parsing output from underlying macOS capabilities. It's using things like the endpoint security framework or maybe older stuff like SIGStyle.
Yeah, it uses a mix of those system-level APIs to gather all this info. And building tools that reliably keep up with Apple's changes to those APIs, well, it's certainly a moving target.
It's less like building on solid ground and more like trying to assemble IKEA furniture on a roller coaster, maybe.
That's not a bad analogy, actually. Apple definitely keeps developers on their toes.
Okay, so to help everyone listening remember the key things TaskExplorer lets you check for a process, we thought of an acronym. PASLF.
PASLF. Let's see. Path, where the process lives, and its parent. Arguments, how it was launched.
Signing status, we covered that. Apple, third party, or unsigned.
Loaded libraries, those wlibs it's using. And files, the files it has open.
Path, args, signing, libs, files, PASLF. Just a little mental checklist when you're digging into a process.
Yeah, tools like TaskExplorer that give you this kind of granular view are just invaluable for spotting anomalies on macOS, understanding how things are actually executing.
And if you want to dig even deeper yourself, you can definitely explore those macOS APIs directly. The endpoint security framework is the big one now, but knowing about systoig or propidbinfo is still useful background.
And practicing with the command line tools, getting comfortable parsing output from vmap or LSOF really helps understand the raw data.
It really does. So that brings us to a kind of lingering question, I suppose.
Which is?
With these system APIs constantly evolving, sometimes becoming more restrictive, how do we as security professionals make sure we can maintain this kind of essential low-level visibility into macOS processes going forward?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Something we all need to keep thinking about.
Food for thought. Well, that's our look at TaskExplorer for this session. Thanks for tuning in to UBG Bytes.
Catch you next time.